My name is Nora Vance. I am 24 years old and I live in Corvallis, Oregon. The silence in the auditorium was heavy. It was supposed to be the proudest moment of my life. My name had just been called. I took my first step toward the podium, feeling the weight of 4 years of hard work in my legs. Then, a voice cut through the air. A voice I knew better than my own. My sister, Ariana, stood up in the third row. She didn't just speak. She screamed. She cheated her way through college. 3,000 people froze. Heads turned instantly. I saw phone cameras go up in the air like a wave. I saw the horror on the professors' faces. But mostly, I saw Ariana's eyes. She looked triumphant. She thought she had finally destroyed me in front of everyone I respected. My heart felt like it was burning inside my chest. I wanted to run. I wanted to disappear into the floor and never come back. But I didn't stop. I kept my back straight. I kept my eyes forward. Because I knew something she didn't know. I knew exactly why she was screaming, and I knew that in my hand, I held the only thing that could stop her. I wasn't the little sister who shrank away anymore. I kept walking. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Nora Vance. I am 24 years old. If you met me a year ago, you probably wouldn't remember me. That was by design. I learned how to be forgettable a long time ago. I learned that being invisible was the safest way to exist in my family. We grew up in Portland, Oregon, where the sky is gray for half the year. My house was a beautiful, old 2-story place with a big porch, but inside, the air always felt tight. It felt like there wasn't enough oxygen for 4 people. My sister, Ariana, took up all the air in the room. Ariana is 2 years older than me. From the moment I could form memories, I knew that Ariana was the main character of our family. I was just the extra. I was the background noise. She was beautiful, even when we were kids. She had this loud, infectious laugh that made adults smile. She was the one who danced on the coffee table while my parents clapped. She was the one who threw tantrums that stopped the whole house until she got what she wanted. I was different. I was quiet. I was careful. I watched. I remember one dinner when I was 8 years old. I had drawn a picture at school that won a small contest. It was just a drawing of a bird, but my teacher had put a gold star on it. I was so proud. I held it in my lap during dinner, waiting for a break in the conversation to show my mom and dad. Ariana was talking about her dance class. She was talking about how the teacher put her in the front row because she was the best. My mother was beaming at her. My father was nodding, eating his steak, eyes fixed on Ariana. I was the only one who knew the steps perfectly, Ariana said, waving her fork. The other girls are so clumsy. That's wonderful, honey, Mom said. You're a natural star. I saw a small opening. Mom, I whispered. Mom didn't hear me. She was refilling Ariana's water glass. Mom, I said a little louder. I won a contest today. The table went quiet for a second. My dad looked at me. What was that, Nora? I won a drawing contest, I said, lifting the paper. See, the teacher gave me. Before I could finish, Ariana knocked her glass over. Water spilled everywhere. It went all over the tablecloth and dripped onto the floor. Oh no, Ariana screamed. My dress, I'm wet. Chaos erupted. Mom jumped up. It's okay, baby, don't cry. Get a towel, Nora, hurry up. I dropped my drawing. It landed in a puddle of water on the floor. The ink started to run. The bird I had drawn dissolved into a blue smudge. I ran to the kitchen to get towels, my heart sinking into my stomach. By the time we cleaned it up, nobody remembered my contest. Nobody asked about the drawing. It sat wet and ruined in the trash can. That night, I learned the most important lesson of my childhood. Do not try to shine when Ariana is in the room. You will only get hurt. So, I shrank. To shrink meant to be quiet. It meant hiding my good grades because Ariana struggled in math. It meant not asking for new clothes because Ariana needed them for her social life. It meant accepting that my birthday parties were always combined with family events, while Ariana had big parties with DJs and catered food. My parents weren't villains. They didn't beat me. They fed me, clothed me, and paid for my school. But emotional neglect is a strange thing. It's not about what they do to you, it's about what they don't do. They didn't ask me how my day was. They didn't come to my parent-teacher conferences if Ariana had a rehearsal at the same time. They didn't see me. For years, this worked. I stayed small. Ariana stayed big. The house was peaceful as long as I played my part. But then, high school happened, and I made a mistake. I started to succeed. I was good at school, really good. While Ariana was busy being popular and skipping class, I was in the library. I loved books. Books didn't interrupt me. Books didn't knock over water glasses when I spoke. I studied hard because it was the only place where I had control. By my junior year, I was at the top of my class. Ariana had graduated 2 years prior with average grades and was drifting through community college, more interested in parties than studying. The shift happened at the dinner table again. I was 17. I got my SAT scores back, I said. I tried to sound casual, but I was shaking. And, Dad asked, looking up from his phone. I got a 1540, I said. Dad stopped chewing. Mom put down her fork. 1540, Dad asked. That's Ivy League level, Nora. I know, I said. A small smile crept onto my face. I couldn't help it. Wow, Mom said. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time in years. That's incredible, Nora. We should celebrate. For a split second, I felt warm. I felt seen. Then Ariana laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. Narrator Nora, she said, using the nickname she used to mock me. Does it matter? You're too shy to go to a big school anyway. You'll probably just stay here and go to the local state school like me. Actually, I said, my voice trembling, I'm applying to Stanford. And Duke? Ariana's face changed. The smile vanished. Her eyes went flat and hard. It was a look of pure, unadulterated jealousy. You think you're better than me, she snapped. Ariana, stop, Dad said, but his voice was weak. No, she does, Ariana stood up. She thinks just because she's a nerd she's better than this family. You're boring, Nora. You have no friends. Grades won't fix that. She stormed out. That night my mom came into my room. I thought she was going to congratulate me again. Nora, she said softly, sitting on my bed. That was great news about the test, but maybe don't talk about it so much around your sister. You know she's struggling right now. It makes her feel bad. I stared at her. I had just achieved something huge, and my mother was asking me to hide it. Okay, Mom, I said. I'm sorry. You're a good girl, she said, patting my leg. She left. I sat in the dark, feeling a cold knot in my chest. That was the moment I realized that no matter what I did, my role was to protect Ariana's ego. But for the first time, I didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to leave. I wanted to go far away where nobody knew I was the boring little sister. I kept my head down. I got into the university of my dreams. I packed my bags, and when I left for college, I thought I was escaping. I was wrong. I didn't know that Ariana's jealousy had turned into something much darker. I didn't know that she wasn't just going to let me leave. College was supposed to be my fresh start. I moved 3 states away. I loved the campus. It was big and green and full of people who didn't know my last name meant Ariana's sister. For the first 2 years, it was wonderful. I made friends. I joined clubs. I had a roommate named Sarah who actually listened when I talked. I felt like I was finally breathing real air. But in my junior year, things started to get weird. It started with small things. Glitches, I told myself. The first incident was with the financial aid office. I relied on a partial scholarship and a grant to pay for my tuition. Without them, I couldn't afford school. One Tuesday morning in October, I went to the bookstore to buy my textbooks for the semester. I swiped my student ID card. Declined. I tried again. Declined. The cashier looked at me with pity. It says insufficient funds, honey. I felt my face go hot. That's impossible. My grant money was deposited yesterday. I ran to the financial aid office. My heart was pounding. I sat across from a bored-looking administrator named Mr. Henderson. I'm sorry, Nora, he said, looking at his screen. But we received an email from you last week requesting the funds be diverted to a different account, a private checking account. What? I gripped the arms of the chair. I never sent that email. That's not my account. He turned the screen to show me. The email was there. It was from noravanceofficial@gmail.com. That's not my email address, I said, my voice rising. My email is noravance12@gmail.com. Oh, he said, frowning. Well, it looked very official. It had your student ID number and a scan of your signature. A chill went down my spine. A scan of my signature. It took 3 weeks to fix. I had to file fraud reports. I had to live on ramen noodles because I had 0 cash. I called my parents, crying. It must be a hacker, Dad said. Be more careful with your passwords, Nora. I am careful, I insisted. Well, these things happen, Mom said. Don't be so dramatic. By the way, Ariana got a promotion at the retail store. We're so proud. They didn't get it. But I fixed it and I moved on. I told myself it was random identity theft. Then, the sabotage got personal. I was studying for a huge history midterm. I had a study session booked with my professor, Dr. Aris, to review my essay. I respected Dr. Aris more than anyone. He was the one who encouraged me to apply for grad school. I walked to his office at 2 p.m. on a Thursday, notebook in hand. I knocked on the door. Dr. Aris opened it. He looked annoyed. "Nora," he said, "what are you doing here?" "I'm here for our meeting," I said. He sighed. "You canceled it, Nora, 2 hours ago. You said you were sick and didn't want to waste my time." I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't. I've been in the library all morning." He looked at me over his glasses. He looked skeptical. "I got a call, Nora, from a woman. She said she was you. She sounded very upset." "It wasn't me," I whispered. "Look," he said, checking his watch. "I'm busy now. I gave your slot to another student. Please get your schedule together." He closed the door. I stood in the hallway, staring at the wood grain of his door. I felt sick. Someone had called him, someone who sounded like me. I went back to my dorm room. Sarah was there, typing on her laptop. She took one look at me and closed her computer. "What happened?" she asked. I told her everything. "The bank account, the cancelled meeting." "That's creepy," Sarah said. "Who hates you that much?" "I don't know," I said, but deep down a tiny voice was whispering a name. I pushed it away. "No," I thought, "she's my sister. She's jealous, but she's not crazy. She wouldn't do this." But the glitches didn't stop. They got sharper. My food delivery orders would get cancelled. My library books would show as overdue and lost, even though I had returned them, resulting in huge fines. Then came the whispers. I would walk into a lecture hall and people would stop talking. I would see girls looking at me and giggling behind their hands. One day, a guy I sat next to in biology leaned over. "Hey," he said. "Is it true?" "Is what true?" I asked. "That you buy your essays online." I dropped my pen. "What? Who told you that?" He shrugged. "I don't know, just heard it around. Someone said there's a whole forum post about it." I felt like the walls were closing in. I was working so hard. I was pulling all-nighters. I was earning every single grade. But someone was painting a picture of me that was a lie. I started to feel paranoid. I walked around campus looking over my shoulder. I changed all my passwords. I put a piece of tape over my laptop camera. I called home again. "Mom, weird things are happening," I said. "People are spreading rumors about me." "Oh, Nora, you're just stressed," Mom said dismissively. "You always get anxious during exams. Ariana says you were always like this, high-strung." "I am not high-strung," I snapped. "Someone is targeting me." "Don't yell at me," Mom said sharply. "We have enough to deal with. Ariana just broke up with her boyfriend and she's devastated. I need to go comfort her." She hung up. I sat on my dorm bed, holding the phone. The silence in the room was deafening. I realized then that I was completely alone. My family didn't believe me. My professors were starting to doubt me. My reputation was being eaten away by invisible termites. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know where the attack was coming from, but I could feel the net tightening. And I knew, with a heavy, sinking dread, that the worst was yet to come. It was the spring of my senior year. I was 2 months away from graduation. I was supposed to be happy. Instead, I was living in a state of constant terror. The attacks had moved from annoying to dangerous. I woke up one Tuesday to log into the university portal. I needed to submit my final thesis proposal. It was worth 40% of my grade. If I didn't submit it by noon, I would fail the class. If I failed the class, I wouldn't graduate. I typed in my username and password. Login failed. Account locked. I tried again. My fingers were shaking. Account locked. Contact administrator. I looked at the clock. 10:30 a.m. I had 90 minutes. I grabbed my laptop and ran across campus to the IT center. I was sweating. My chest hurt. There was a line. I waited, tapping my foot, trying not to cry. Finally, I got to the front. "My account is locked," I told the tech guy. "I have a deadline in an hour." He typed on his keyboard. "Let's see, Nora Vance." He looked up at me. "Miss Vance, your account was flagged for suspicious activity." "What activity?" I demanded. "Multiple failed login attempts from a different IP address last night, and it looks like a request was made to delete your account entirely at 3 a.m. "Delete it?" I whispered. "I was asleep at 3 a.m. "Well, we locked it for your safety," he said. "I can reset it, but you need to come up with a very strong password." He unlocked it at 11:45 a.m. I ran to the library, logged in, and uploaded my thesis at 11:58 a.m. I sat back in the chair, gasping for air. I felt like I had just run a marathon. I looked at the screen. My thesis was safe, but for how long? That evening, Dr. Aris asked me to stay after class. The other students filed out. The room was empty. Dr. Aris sat on the edge of his desk. He looked tired. "Nora," he said, "I need to tell you something. And I need you to be honest with me." "I'm always honest," I said. My voice sounded thin. The dean received a formal complaint this morning, he said. An anonymous tip. It claims that you plagiarized your entire thesis. It claims you paid a service to write it. I felt the room spin. That's a lie. I have all my drafts, I have my notes. You've seen me working on it for months. I know, Dr. Aris said gently. I defended you. I told the dean it was nonsense. But the complaint was detailed. It had dates. It had receipts from an essay writing website with your name on them. Fake, I cried. They're fake. I believe you, he said. But Nora, someone is trying very hard to ruin you. You need to prepare yourself. If this goes to a hearing, you need proof. I walked back to my dorm in a daze. It was raining. I didn't even feel the water. Sarah was in the room when I got back. She took one look at my wet clothes and my pale face. Okay, she said, that's it. She stood up and locked the door. She pulled the blinds down. You are not crazy, Sarah said firmly. And this isn't random. Random hackers steal credit cards. They don't try to get you expelled. They don't try to destroy your reputation. She sat me down. Nora, think. Who knows your schedule? Who knows your student ID number? Who has a copy of your signature? Who knows that you're graduating soon? I looked at her. Tears welled up in my eyes. I didn't want to say it. Saying it made it real. Saying it meant my family was broken forever. My sister, I whispered. Ariana, Sarah nodded. It fits, the jealousy, the timing, the personal nature of it. But how? I asked. She's not a tech genius. She barely knows how to use Excel. She doesn't need to be a genius, Sarah said. She just needs your old passwords. She needs your security questions. What's your mother's maiden name? What's the name of your first pet? She knows all of that, Nora. She's been you. I felt a wave of nausea. It was true. Ariana knew everything about me. She knew the name of my stuffed bear. She knew the street we grew up on. She could reset any password I made. I can't prove it, I said. If I accuse her without proof, my parents will hate me. They'll say I'm attacking her. They'll say I'm the jealous one. Then we get proof, Sarah said. Real proof, forensic proof. You need to hire a professional. I don't have money, I said. You have your savings, Sarah said. The money you saved for a post-grad trip. Use it. Nora, this is your life. If she gets you expelled, you lose everything. I looked at my laptop. I looked at the thesis I had almost lost. I thought about the humiliation of being accused of cheating. I thought about Ariana's smile when I told her I got into Stanford. A cold, hard resolve settled in my chest. The fear didn't leave, but it changed. It turned into anger. Okay, I said, I'll do it. I found Noah Vance online. He wasn't a private eye with a trench coat. He was a digital forensic analyst. He worked out of a small, neat office downtown that smelled like coffee and ozone. He was a quiet man. He didn't smile much. He just listened. I sat in his office and told him everything. The bank account, the emails, the login attempts, the fake receipts. I handed him my laptop. I gave him access to my accounts. It might take a week, he said. I don't have a week, I said. Graduation is in 10 days. I'll do my best, he said. I went back to campus and waited. Those days were the longest of my life. I went to class, I studied, but I felt like I was walking on a wire. I was waiting for the next blow. I was waiting for the police to show up or the dean to expel me. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. Ariana texted me once during that time. Hey sis, mom says you're stressed. Don't worry, graduation is just a piece of paper. If you don't make it, it's not the end of the world. Love you. I read the text over and over. If you don't make it, she was banking on it. She was waiting for me to fail. 5 days later, Noah called me. Come to my office, he said. I skipped my afternoon lecture. I took a bus downtown. My hands were sweating so much I had to wipe them on my jeans. When I walked in, Noah was sitting behind his desk. He had a stack of papers in front of him. He looked serious. I found the source, he said. He slid a piece of paper across the desk. It was a map. There was a red pin dropped on a specific location in Portland, Oregon. All the malicious traffic, Noah said. The login attempts, the fake emails to the financial aid office, the creation of the fake essay writing account, they all came from this IP address. I looked at the address next to the map. 42 Maplewood Drive, Portland, OR. My parents' house. I closed my eyes, I knew it, but seeing it in black and white was like being punched in the gut. It gets more specific, Noah said. He slid another paper over. I traced the device MAC address. It's an iPhone 14, registered to an account name Ariana V. Star. He showed me logs. Monday, 3:12 p.m., unauthorized login to university portal. Tuesday, 10 a.m. Email sent to Dr. Aris from spoofed account. Wednesday, 8:45 p.m., purchase of fake plagiarism documents. It was a timeline of hate. Every time I had suffered, she had been there, tapping on her phone, miles away, destroying my life. She used a VPN sometimes, Noah explained, to try and hide her location, but she was sloppy. She forgot to turn it on half the time, and she used her personal email as a recovery address for the fake accounts. He looked at me with sympathy. This wasn't a hacker, Miss Vance. This was a dedicated campaign of harassment. Is this a relative? My sister, I whispered. Noah sighed. I see this more often than you'd think. He handed me a thick folder. This is everything. It's admissible in court. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Ariana Vance is responsible for the fraud, the identity theft, and the harassment. I held the folder. It was heavy. It contained the truth of my life. It contained the proof that my sister didn't just dislike me, she wanted to erase me. What do you want to do? Noah asked. I thought about calling my parents. I imagined the conversation. Mom, Ariana hacked me. Don't lie, Nora. Why do you always blame her? They wouldn't believe me, not without seeing this. And even then, they would ask me to bury it. They would ask me to forgive her. She's family. Don't ruin her reputation. I thought about the graduation ceremony coming up. My parents were flying in. Ariana was coming with them. She insisted on coming. She wanted to see me fall. She probably had one last surprise planned. I looked at the folder. I looked at Noah. I need an attorney, I said. Noah nodded. I know a good one. Her name is Mira Reyes. She handles civil harassment. I'm not just going to stop her, I said, my voice steady for the first time in months. I'm going to make sure she can never do this to me again. I took the folder. I walked out of that office into the bright sunlight. The fear was gone. It was replaced by a cold, quiet power. I had the weapon. Now I just had to wait for her to attack. And I knew she would. She wouldn't be able to help herself. She was coming to my graduation to watch me burn. But she didn't know that I was the one holding the match. I didn't sleep the night after I met Noah. I sat up in my dorm room with the thick folder of evidence on my lap. I read every page. I memorized every timestamp. It was a map of my sister's hatred. It was proof that while I was studying, sleeping, or trying to live my life, she was obsessively trying to dismantle it. The next morning, I called Mira Reyes. Noah had given me her card. She was a civil litigation attorney who specialized in harassment and digital stalking. Her office was in a high-rise building downtown. It was very different from Noah's cluttered tech room. It was sleek, white, and intimidating. I felt small walking into the lobby in my jeans and sneakers. I felt like the little sister again. But I clutched the folder to my chest like a shield. Mira was a sharp woman in her 40s. She had dark hair pulled back tight and glasses that magnified her intense eyes. She didn't offer me tea. She pointed to a chair and said, "Show me what you have." I laid it all out, the logs from Noah, the emails, the bank records showing the diverted funds, the IP addresses matching my parents' home, the device ID matching Ariana's phone. Mira read in silence. The only sound in the room was the turning of pages and the hum of the air conditioner. I watched her face, waiting for her to say what everyone else said. I waited for her to say, "It's just a family squabble. Let it go." After 20 minutes, she closed the folder. She took off her glasses and looked at me. "This is malicious," she said. Her voice was cold and professional. "This isn't a prank. This is tortious interference, identity theft, and defamation. She has caused you financial damages and severe emotional distress." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "So we can stop her. We can destroy her," Mira said calmly. "Legally speaking, we have enough here for a restraining order, a civil lawsuit for damages, and potentially criminal charges for the identity theft involved in the financial aid fraud." "I don't want to go to the police yet," I said quickly. I just want her to stop. And I want everyone to know the truth. She's coming to my graduation. I know she's planning something." Mira leaned forward. "If she plans to disrupt your graduation, we need to be ready. We are going to prepare a legal packet, a sealed envelope. It will contain a cease and desist order, a summary of the evidence, and a draft of the lawsuit we will file if she steps out of line." She tapped the folder. "We will label it. If she attacks you, you don't argue, you don't scream, you hand over the evidence, you let the facts speak." We spent the next 3 days building the packet. I felt like a spy. I went to my classes, I nodded at my professors, I packed my dorm room. But inside, I was vibrating with adrenaline. Then my family arrived. They flew in 2 days before graduation. My parents, Bill and Susan, and Ariana. They stayed at a nice hotel near campus. We were supposed to meet for a celebratory dinner at an Italian restaurant. I dressed carefully. I wore a simple blue dress. I put on a little makeup. I looked in the mirror and told myself, You are an actress. You are playing the role of the victim one last time. When I walked into the restaurant, they were already seated. Ariana was in the center, of course. She was wearing a red dress that was slightly too formal for a Tuesday dinner. She looked stunning. She also looked like a shark. Nora, Mom cried out, waving me over. There's our graduate. I walked over and hugged them. My dad patted my back awkwardly. Good to see you, kiddo. Then I turned to Ariana. She didn't stand up. She just smiled. It was a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It was the smile of a predator watching a mouse. Hey, little sis, she said. You look tired. Are you sleeping? Just studying, I said, taking my seat. Finals were hard. I bet, Ariana said, taking a sip of wine. I remember when I was in school. It was so easy for me, but I know you have to work harder at it. I saw my mom nod in agreement. Ariana always had a natural gift, but we're proud of you for trying so hard, Nora. I gripped my napkin under the table. Trying so hard, as if my 4 GPA was a participation trophy compared to Ariana's community college dropout status. So, Dad said, cutting into his lasagna. Are you excited for the ceremony? Yes, I said. It's going to be a good day. I hope so, Ariana said. She swirled her wine glass. I'd hate for anything to spoil it, like those rumors I heard about. I froze. I looked at her. What rumors? Oh, she said airily. Mom told me you were having some trouble with the dean, something about your grades. She was baiting me. She wanted me to snap. She wanted me to scream at her right there in the restaurant so she could play the victim. Look, Mom, Nora is crazy. She's yelling at me. I took a deep breath. I thought about the folder sitting in the safe in my dorm room. I thought about the IP address logs. It was just a misunderstanding, I said softly. It's all cleared up now. Ariana's eyes narrowed. She didn't like that answer. She wanted fear. Well, she said, her voice dropping lower. I hope so. It would be so embarrassing for Mom and Dad if they announced your name, and I don't know, someone objected. Ariana, don't tease her, Mom said, but she was laughing. Nora is sensitive. I'm just looking out for her, Ariana said. She reached across the table and patted my hand. Her skin was cold. I'm your big sister. I always watch out for you. It took every ounce of strength I had not to pull my hand away. I let her touch me. I let her think she had the power. Enjoy it, I thought. Enjoy this dinner. It's the last time you'll ever sit at a table with me. The rest of the meal was a blur. My parents talked about their flight. They talked about the weather. They talked about Ariana's new boyfriend, who I knew didn't exist. They didn't ask me about my thesis. They didn't ask me about my job prospects. I was just the excuse for the dinner, not the subject of it. When we said goodbye outside the restaurant, Ariana leaned in to hug me. She whispered in my ear, I know you cheated, Nora, and on Friday everyone else is going to know too. She pulled back and smiled brightly. Night, sis. Get some rest. I watched them drive away in their rental car. I stood on the sidewalk, shivering in the cool evening air. I wasn't scared anymore. I was ready. I went back to my dorm. I took the sealed envelope out of my safe. I wrote a code on the front in thick black marker. Ananetine, I texted Mira. She threatened me tonight. She's going to do it. Mira replied instantly. We are ready. Stick to the plan. Do not engage. Do not fight. Let her dig her own grave. I went to sleep that night with the envelope under my pillow. It felt like a gun. It felt like safety. For the first time in 22 years, I wasn't the girl who shrank. I was the girl who was waiting for the trap to spring. Knowing I was the one holding the trigger. Graduation morning was bright and painfully clear. The sky was a hard, brilliant blue. It felt like the world was in high definition. I woke up at 6 a.m. I didn't feel nervous. I felt a strange, icy calm. It was the feeling of a soldier putting on armor before a battle. I showered. I did my hair in a tight, professional bun. I put on my makeup, clean, sharp eyeliner, a neutral lip. I didn't want to look like a girl. I wanted to look like a woman. I put on my black graduation gown. I adjusted the cap. I looked in the mirror. The girl looking back at me wasn't the Nora from Portland. She was someone new. She was someone who survived. I picked up the envelope. I slid it into the hidden pocket of my dress under the gown. I could feel the sharp corner of it against my ribs. It was my secret. I walked to the stadium. The campus was buzzing. Thousands of students were milling around in black robes. Parents were carrying bouquets of flowers. There was laughter, shouting, the sound of the band warming up. I found my assigned seat. I was in the third row of the graduating class, near the aisle. It was a perfect spot. I scanned the audience. The stadium was packed. There were bleachers full of families. I looked for my parents. I found them. They were sitting in the VIP section. My dad had donated to the alumni fund years ago. They had great seats, right near the front, close to the stage. Ariana was with them. She wasn't wearing a guest outfit. She was wearing white. A bright, white cocktail dress that looked like something a bride would wear to a rehearsal dinner. In a sea of dark colors and casual clothes, she stood out like a beacon. She wanted eyes on her. She was wearing oversized sunglasses, looking bored. She was typing on her phone. I knew, with a sick certainty, that she was probably posting about me right now. The ceremony began. The music started, pomp and circumstance. We marched in. The speeches dragged on. The Dean of Students, Dean Miller, gave a speech about integrity and the future. I sat with my hands folded in my lap. My heart was beating a slow, heavy rhythm. Thump, 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 then the names began. Adams, Baker, Carter. Each student walked across the stage, shook hands, took their diploma cover. The crowd cheered. It was rhythmic, safe. They got to the Timothy Vance. A boy 3 rows behind me walked up. Nora Vance. That was me. I stood up. The wood of the chair scraped against the floor. I took a step into the aisle. The moment I stepped out, it happened. Ariana stood up. She didn't just stand. She leaped up. She climbed onto her chair in the VIP section, towering over the people behind her. She ripped off her sunglasses. "Stop," she screamed. Her voice was amplified by the acoustics of the stadium. It cut through the polite applause like a knife. The band stopped playing. The dean froze with his hand extended. The entire stadium went silent. "Stop the ceremony," Ariana yelled again. She pointed a long, manicured finger directly at me. "She's a fraud," Ariana shrieked. She cheated her way through college. She bought her degree." The silence broke. A wave of gasps rippled through the crowd. 3,000 heads turned. People stood up to see who was screaming. Phones went up immediately, hundreds of black rectangles recording the drama. I stood there in the aisle. I felt the blood drain from my face, but I didn't look down. I looked at her. Ariana looked manic. Her hair was wild. Her face was twisted in a look of triumphant rage. "She plagiarized everything," Ariana yelled, turning to the crowd. "She's a liar. She doesn't deserve to walk. My parents are ashamed of her. We're all ashamed." My parents were frozen. My dad was pulling at Ariana's dress, trying to get her to sit down. My mom had her hands over her mouth, looking horrified, but they weren't stopping her fast enough. "Security," the dean shouted into the microphone. "Security to the front." But Ariana was faster. She was reveling in it. Ask her about the bank fraud, ask her about the essays." The students around me stepped back. They looked at me with wide, fearful eyes. I was radioactive. In seconds she had turned me into a pariah. I could have run, I could have cried, I could have shouted back, "She's lying." But I remembered Mira's words. "Do not engage." I took a breath. I squared my shoulders. I lifted my chin. I started to walk. I didn't walk toward the exit. I didn't walk toward my parents. I walked toward the stage. "Look at her," Ariana screamed. "She's ignoring it. She has no shame." I kept walking. My steps were steady. 1, 2, 3. I could feel the eyes of the crowd on me. It felt like physical weight. I could hear the whispers starting. "Is it true? Who is that?" "That's her sister." I reached the stairs of the stage. My legs felt like lead, but I forced them to move. I walked up the steps. Dean Miller was standing there, looking confused and angry. He looked at me, then at Ariana, then back at me. He didn't know what to do. He pulled the diploma cover back slightly. I didn't reach for the diploma. I reached into my dress. The crowd went silent again, wondering what I was pulling out. A weapon, a phone. I pulled out the white envelope. It was thick. It was sealed. On the front, in bold black marker, it said Ananetine. I walked right up to the microphone, but I didn't speak into it. I stepped past it. I walked directly to the dean. I looked him in the eye. He saw that I wasn't crying. He saw that I wasn't hysterical. He saw a woman who was absolutely, terrifyingly calm. I handed him the envelope. "Dean Miller," I said. My voice was low, steady, and clear. "Please open this. It explains everything. And please check the metadata logs on page 4. He took it, confused. "And," I added, loud enough for the front row to hear, "please tell security to escort the woman in the white dress out. She is currently violating a pending restraining order documented in that folder." I turned around. I didn't run off stage. I stood there, next to the podium, and I looked out at the crowd. I looked directly at Ariana. She had stopped screaming. She was panting. She looked at the envelope in the dean's hand. She saw the way I was standing. For the first time in her life, I saw fear in her eyes. She realized that I hadn't just taken the hit. I had swung back. And I hadn't missed. The seconds ticked by like hours. The dean was ripping open the envelope. The sound of tearing paper was magnified by the microphone he was still standing near. "Reap." He pulled out the stack of documents. The first page was a summary Mira had written on her law firm's letterhead. Bold, legal, undeniable. I watched his face. He read the first paragraph. His eyebrows shot up. He flipped to the next page. The page with the map of the IP addresses. The page with the police report number for identity theft. He looked up from the papers. He looked at the security guards who were rushing toward the stage. He pointed to the audience. He pointed directly at Ariana. "Remove her," the dean said into the microphone. His voice boomed with authority. "Remove that woman from the premises immediately." The crowd gasped. The energy in the room shifted instantly. It was like a tide turning. A moment ago, they were confused, maybe even believing her. Now they saw the dean, the symbol of truth, rejecting her. Two large security guards in yellow jackets moved toward the VIP section. Ariana saw them coming. Her face crumbled. The mask of the concerned sister fell away, revealing the ugly, panicked child underneath. "No," she screamed. "No, you're making a mistake. She's the liar. Read the papers. She faked them." My father stood up. He looked pale. "Sir, please, she's my daughter. Sit down, sir," a guard barked. The guards reached Ariana. One of them grabbed her arm. "Don't touch me," she shrieked. She flailed, knocking over her chair. It clattered loudly on the concrete floor. Mom, do something." My mother was sobbing into her hands. She couldn't look at Ariana. She couldn't look at me. She was shrinking, just like I used to do. The crowd was no longer whispering. They were booing. A low rumble started in the back and grew louder. They weren't booing me. They were booing her. They saw a hysterical woman trying to ruin a graduation, and they saw a graduate standing stoically on stage with proof. Ariana realized she was losing the audience. She got desperate. "You're all idiots," she screamed at the crowd as the guards dragged her into the aisle. "She's a snake. She's nothing. I'm the special one. I'm the one who matters." That was the nail in the coffin. Everyone heard it. The jealousy, the narcissism. It hung in the air, ugly and raw. I watched her being dragged up the aisle, her heels scraping the floor, her white dress twisted. She looked small. She looked pathetic. When the doors swung shut behind her, the auditorium went silent again. Dean Miller turned to me. He looked shaken. He looked at the papers in his hand, then at me. There was a new respect in his eyes. He stepped back to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "I apologize for the disruption. It appears we have a case of severe harassment against one of our students." He turned to me. He extended his hand. "Nora Vance," he said loudly, "magna cum laude." He handed me my diploma cover. I took it. And then the sound hit me. It started with my classmates. The people who had heard the rumors. The people who had doubted me. They stood up. Then the parents stood up. Then the professors on the stage stood up. A standing ovation. It wasn't polite applause. It was a roar. It was a wave of support crashing over me. They were cheering for my degree, yes. But they were cheering for my dignity. They were cheering because they had just watched a bully get destroyed by the truth. I stood there clutching my diploma. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. I scanned the VIP section one last time. My parents were sitting there, alone. My dad was staring at his shoes. My mom was staring at the empty door where Ariana had been dragged out. They looked old. They looked broken. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to run to them. I didn't need to fix their embarrassment. I didn't need to comfort them. I walked across the stage. I shook the hands of the faculty. I walked down the stairs on the other side. I didn't go back to my seat. I walked straight out of the side exit, into the bright sunlight of the parking lot. I was free. I took my phone out of my pocket. I had a text from Mira. "Security just called me. She's been detained. We're filing the restraining order now. Do you want to press charges for the hacking?" I looked at the text. I looked at the diploma in my hand. I typed back, "Yes, everything, don't spare her." I hit send. I took a deep breath of the fresh air. It smelled like summer. It smelled like victory. The fallout was fast, brutal, and absolute. In the movies, the villain gets away, or the family hugs it out. In real life, when you involve lawyers and forensic evidence, things get very technical and very serious. Ariana spent that night in a holding cell. The university police didn't take kindly to someone disrupting a massive public event and screaming threats. They charged her with disorderly conduct and trespassing. But that was just the appetizer. The next morning, Mira filed the civil suit. We served my parents with the papers since Ariana lived at their house. My phone blew up. Dad 10 calls, Mom 14 calls Dad. "Nora, please pick up. We need to talk." "Mom, you can't do this to your sister. She's having a breakdown. Please, honey, be reasonable." I didn't answer. I blocked their numbers. I routed everything to Mira. 3 days later, the university investigation concluded. Noah's evidence was bulletproof. The financial aid office confirmed the fraud. The IT department confirmed the hacking. The university legal team contacted the district attorney. Identity theft involving federal financial aid is a felony. It wasn't just a family prank anymore. It was a federal crime. I had a meeting with Mira and the DA. We can offer her a plea deal, the DA said. Probation, restitution of the funds, mandatory psychiatric counseling, and a permanent criminal record, or we go to trial. She'll take the deal, Mira said. She's a coward. The hardest part was the meeting with my parents. I agreed to see them one last time, but only with Mira present in her office. They walked in looking like ghosts. My dad had aged 10 years. My mom's eyes were swollen red. Nora, Mom said, reaching for me. Sit down, Mira said sharply. They sat. Why? My dad asked, his voice shaking. Why are you doing this, jail, for your sister? She tried to get me expelled, Dad, I said. I kept my voice calm. She stole my money. She impersonated me. She tried to ruin my future, and you let her. We didn't know, Mom cried. We thought she was just high-spirited. You knew, I said. You knew she hated me. You knew she was jealous. And every time she hurt me, you told me to be quiet. You told me to shrink. You fed the monster, Mom, and now the monster bit you. I slid a paper across the table. This is a no-contact order, I said. It covers me. If Ariana contacts me, she goes to jail. If you contact me on her behalf, I will sue you for harassment too. Nora, we're your parents, Dad whispered. You're cutting us off. I'm protecting myself, I said. I'm going to move. I'm going to start my job. I'm going to live a life where nobody knocks over my water glass and tells me it's my fault. I stood up. I love you, I said, and I meant it. It was a sad, hollow kind of love. But I can't be around you, not until you stop choosing her over me, and we both know you can't do that. I walked out of the office. I heard my mother sobbing behind me. It hurt. It hurt like losing a limb. But I knew that the pain of leaving was better than the pain of staying. The legal process ground on for months. Ariana took the plea deal. She pleaded guilty to identity theft. She has a felony record now. She can't get a decent job. She's banned from the university campus for life. The friends she tried to turn against me, they all saw the truth. The rumors vanished instantly, replaced by the story of the crazy sister who melted down at graduation. Ariana lost her reputation. She lost her freedom. But mostly, she lost her victim. She lost the mirror she used to make herself feel big. Without me to stand next to, she was just a small, angry woman with a criminal record. It has been 2 years since that day. I live in Corvallis now. It's a quiet college town, about an hour away from Portland, but it feels like a different planet. I have a small apartment on the second floor of an old Victorian house. It has big windows that let in the morning light. I have plants, ferns, and pothos that hang from the ceiling. They are green and alive because I take care of them. I have a cat named Oliver. He's an orange tabby who sleeps on my feet while I work. I work as a researcher for a history museum. It's quiet work. I deal with facts. I deal with truth. Nobody interrupts me. I don't speak to my parents. They send cards on my birthday. I open them, read them, and put them in a box. I don't reply. They tell me Ariana is getting help. They tell me they miss me. Maybe one day I'll call them, but not today and not tomorrow. I have friends now. Real friends. Friends who ask me how I am and actually listen to the answer. Friends who celebrate when I win and comfort me when I lose. Sometimes I have nightmares. I dream that I'm back at that dinner table and the water is spilling and everyone is looking at me with disappointment. But then I wake up. I see the sunlight hitting the floorboards. I hear Oliver purring. I feel the silence of my apartment. It's not a lonely silence. It's a peaceful silence. I make coffee. I stand by the window and watch the rain fall on the street. I think about the girl I used to be. The girl who shrank. The girl who apologized for existing. I wish I could go back and hug her. I wish I could tell her, hold on, you're smarter than them, you're stronger than them, and one day you're going to prove it. But she knows. Somewhere inside me, she knows. If you are reading this, and you feel small, if you feel like you are the background character in your own family, if you feel like you have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, please listen to me. You don't have to shrink, you don't have to be quiet, you can walk away. You can build a house of your own, brick by brick. It will be hard. It will hurt. But the air on the other side, it is so sweet. It is the air of freedom, and it is all yours.